How's it going, everybody in
Now, Joe,
interweb world?
We are alive.
We are. I'm tickling your head. Did you feel that? What's the emblem on your shirt there, Dr. Bob?
Oh, it's a place I used to work.
Okay.
I don't know if you can skip it, right.
And yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, those guys. Yeah.
Long time ago. In the
Where?
late
Have you
in the
recently,
60s,
like in the last 2 weeks or something?
Have I what?
60s
Yes.
and 70s.
Okay. Wow.
Have I what?
Yeah. Have you recently got a new light? Because your face is really washed out, unless you're starting to put stage makeup on before you come onto my lives or something. No, it just looks like. Can you see that, Dr. Bob? Does
Yeah.
it look really washed out, the face? Yeah.
It's
So
just
it's
a
not just
crappy
me then.
camera. Crappy camera.
Okay.
Oh, it could be the bandwidth he has coming to you.
All right, I'll let you off. Just
no,
this
you got
once,
the
right?
light shining. You got the light shining right in your face, Blair. That's the problem.
Well, and that's the thing is I've got two monitors. I've got one here and one here. And I mean, they're not really bright. It's just the camera is picking up on it. And
And the dark sweatshirt doesn't help any. It makes your face high contrast. I had a comment today during the AWDG that I disappeared into my seat with the black. I didn't have a lot of light on at the time. I had just finished the reunion thing about 3 hours ago. From those of us that worked on with Air America during NOM era, there's only 6 of us left that we've been able to get a hold of and keep in touch. So what you doing today, Robo?
As little as possible for as long as possible.
So you weren't busy making something for a customer, whining and dining customers, potential clients?
No, I'm feeling a bit seedy today. Actually, my head's spinning around a little bit, and because we've got changeable weather over at the moment, and my ears can't adjust to the pressure quick enough.
Ah, inner ear problems.
Yeah, I've got Meniere's disease.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Jay, turn your tool rest around so that it's parallel with the log and come in about an inch at a time and take the edge off and to slowly get it into balance.
That's as good as it's getting, unfortunately.
Yeah, Yeah, no worries. Once you get a bit out of it, you can move it around a bit further.
Yeah. Is that a light looking down at your load?
Yes. Yeah, it looks like an alien finger or something, doesn't it?
I couldn't work out what it was yesterday, and today it dawned on me what it was.
Yeah.
Well, I was doing some research today on StreamYard and how it worked, because it kind of intrigued me just sitting here watching it at night and the different levels of clarity. And my suspicion is right, is the fact that it's all cloud based. Everybody connects through the cloud to a server system that is actually running the software and sending it back down to all of us, the compiled version. So I've got ultra fast software and service here, gigabit speed. Everything, it's the peak of what it can be. That's why with Blair, there's no blur, no problem, nothing or other. And I have the same thing with Robo. He has a better internet connection, I can tell by the clarity.
Yeah, I don't know about this cloud-based system. We have trouble in Australia because we don't have any clouds. Got nothing to bounce it off like the old skip used to, you know?
Yeah. Well, the Stream Deck, the StreamYard people don't have
Wait on,
have
just hold on a second. Just hold on a minute. Jay, check your tailstock again, please. Keep an eye on that tailstock the whole time. Loosen the clamp off first. Loosen the spindle lock off and then try it. Okay, all right. Righto, sorry, Dr. Bob.
The interesting thing is like their cloud-based system. They have a system presently, a bank of them set up in Hawaii because that's an active market for them. And what's happening is the people now from you guys in Australia are going from wherever the network is that you're picking it up at, whatever speed you have bidirectional, is being passed at that quality, the lowest of the quality of anything in the circuit between you and Hawaii. That's what they're getting. And we're getting whatever we have for connections. And anybody in the world, their connection is off to the server, the system that does it. So it does everything up at, in software in the clouds. And in chatting with one of their people about extending it, is that they're right now trying to work with a company to put in a bank of systems, more systems, and they're targeting Australia and New Zealand next. That will speed up and give you better speed in your service.
Yeah, yeah, we tend to get a little bit forgotten. I think we've got one of the slowest internet speeds in the world, actually.
No, the Aleutians are pretty slow, I would bet. But Hawaii, just in the past 5, 6 years, has really increased their coverage of the islands. I got a niece that lived there for quite a while. She was a chef on a cruise ship, and they based out of Hawaii. She had better internet on the ship than she did in her apartment on the island of Oahu.
So, have all three of you ever seen or been to the Nutcracker Ballet?
I have.
I have.
I saw the Joffrey Ballet do it, and then that's been quite a while ago, probably 30 years ago. And I saw the Russian Ballet. It's the woman I was dating that she loved to be dressed in formal clothes. And around the Detroit area, formal clothes means going to see the ballet and the opera in the Philharmonic. Everything else, people slum it in sport coats or jeans.
So, I get to go to that tomorrow, and
Oh, wow.
that's my daughter.
And you keep her in what cage?
And
Keep the
most,
boys away.
most exciting thing is she gets to do this.
Hang on, Blair.
Wow.
Flying thingo, yep.
So
That,
she gets
believe it or
3
not,
parts.
believe it or not, I used to do stage makeup as well, and backstage. I was a stage manager and when I was in the theatre.
That must have been fun,
Very,
Robbo.
very talented there, Blair, right?
She is. She's really talented. And she sent me
Yeah,
a
look,
picture last night of last night was opening night, and she sent me a picture of her feet in a bucket of ice.
yep,
Felt so bad.
yeah. We used to have ice buckets out for the ballet. When they were doing a ballet, for the simple reason their feet, when they're doing points, just get so sore. And their shoes don't help because they've got a wooden block in the front.
Yeah, you look at her toes and it's like, ooh.
Yep. Yeah, we used to actually have, when I was doing stage work for the ballets, we actually had a podiatrist on the staff.
You'd almost have to with as much as they dance.
Oh, yeah.
If they're children under 21, you got all that liability insurance and stuff to cover. I had a kid that was in a scout troop when I was in Alaska, and he loved tap. He was a dancer. His father and mother were in musicals, little theater type stuff, and his grandparents actually played on Broadway during World War II and with USO tours for the troops. Come to find out, uh, he just retired just after COVID hit because the play he was in on Broadway shut down, and now he's enjoying a bachelor life, whatever that is anymore. Uh, and it's like we still keep in touch online through Messenger and now a little more video stuff, but he doesn't know what to do because there's a lot of people in show business. They don't make a lot of money, not unless you're in the top 5 billing positions on the board.
Yeah, that's true.
But he is an official hoofer.
A hoofer.
He did it for 10 years. That's an old vaudevillian term, meaning
Yeah,
you've
it
been
is.
broken in. Yeah, you're a hoofer. You want to tap, you want sand dance, whatever it is, they know how to do it.
I bet Jay is waiting for that thing to quit wobbling. I hate it when I turn something and my lathe wobbles. Scary.
Yeah. Well, my Powermatic's pretty heavy, and that takes a lot of the vibration. It dampens it. But I still have probably another 500-600 pounds of sand underneath of it in a box.
Yeah, I must admit, none of my lathes wobble much.
Yeah, especially when they're bolted to the floor and they're, 10,000 pounds.
Well, he's not a bolt turner, so he wouldn't have the off-balance wood.
I've done a few bowls. I've got to be careful when I'm doing stuff like that, though, because the machine won't move, but it will. We have actually tried it, and we blew a log apart just through centrifugal force.
Ooh.
But the machine didn't move.
Just to see if you could do it, eh?
Well, yeah, basically.
There's a bit of a rascal in you hidden under that beard.
Well, you never know you unless you exceed them. Or the limits of the machines either.
Well, I found if I do get a hum, a vibration, it's more like you can feel it. Doesn't rock, but I find that I'll stand with my remote, which I have on a 6-foot cord, away behind the headstock, out of any field of throwing it, and then I can speed it up just a little bit to see if I can get over that harmonic, because sometimes it's just a harmonic vibration.
Yep.
In radio or broadcast, you'd call it a tuned tank circuit. It's sympathetic vibration. And often if you can just bounce, figure yourself over it, and it doesn't get over its vibration, it's safe to run at a little higher speed because some of the vibration is just a pure vibration. It's off balance. It's not a vibration harmonic. It's just the weight just throwing it off balance.
Well, what a lot of people don't realise that there's 3 directions of force in a rotating mass.
Yeah. Well, you also, when you hit
You've
the
got-
bed, all that goes to pop. Once it hits that bed, it'll go anywhere.
Well, that's true. Like you've got one force that's trying to lift the lathe off the ground and slam it into the ground. And then you've got, as it rotates, it then tries to tip the lathe over either forwards or backwards, depending on where the weight is. And then you've got another one that actually is longitudinal along the lathe that causes racking. There's 2 main criteria for a lathe, and they're called the 2 Bs: ballast and bracing. If you can get one or the other, you're going pretty well. But if you can get both of them, that's even better.
Yeah, I got ballast. My ballast box is full.
Yeah. Well, I got both of them on most of my lathes, the bracing and the ballast.
I got 6 50-pound bags of sand.
Well, a little lathe that's just here, that one, that's got 500 pounds of sand behind it in the box, in the cabinet behind it that holds it down. And it's welded onto, it's actually attached to a huge I-beam as part of the stand, and then the stand's made and then just all filled up with sand.
Yeah.
I've got another one out the back that's got 1.5 ton of concrete in the back, which was a silly move on my part because I don't really know how I'm going to move it if I don't have a forklift anymore.
I thought when you were showing around with the camera a while ago, there was a forklift. In
Oh,
your
there is
shop.
I've got a forklift here, but my whole workshop actually is designed around the way I can move the forklift in and out. So everything's moved by forklift. There's only 2 lathes that are actually bolted to the ground in here. And they're hopefully immovable objects. So I can set the lathes up linear, angular, whichever way I want, depending on what we're doing. Sometimes they're set up like a production line. One lathe will do one part, and then it gets passed on to the next one to do the next part to save breaking down the lathes and resetting them all.
Well, Cindy's party is Sunday the 16th, 3 o'clock Mountain Time, which,
Yep.
let's see. Which would be what, 5 for us, but we knock a half hour off for the morning BS. So 4:30 is the time I want to throw on my calendar. I'm just trying to. I think I'll set my calendar for 4:15 to have it pop up and remind me.
Yeah, thanks, Bob, for sending me that this morning.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
got it as well. Thank you.
it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I may just do that. You know, you said it's what, $15 or something like that?
12. It's Christmas.
See, I always feel bad, you know, participating in the stuff with the guys over in the UK because if I was to win something, it would cost them so much to send it to me, and so I never want them to do that.
I just tell them to redraw. I'm there for the learning. It's not for the prizes.
Yeah.
Nah, bugger it. I'll take whatever I can get. Fortunately, I hope you know that's not true. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting there all day with Jay.
Right?
Now, I must admit, I've got so much out of wood turning. A lot of good friends from wood turning and various other things. And at my age, it's time to start paying it back.
Yeah, I'd like to see the day that that actually happens with me too. Hopefully sooner than later, but you know, as it is right now, my body's pretty much falling apart.
I still know that's the most important thing. What are you doing, Dave? Get into it.
Well, I'm getting frustrated, is what I'm getting, really, essentially.
Why? Why?
Because I go to take the rings out there, and then I put more in there, and then I go to take them ones out, and I put more in again. It's like,
Well, do a shear scrape on it then to get rid of them. Just mark them with a pencil and take them off with a shear scrape. Because what you do with the gouge is bounce over the top of them, and it's like a sand dune. You just move it along the face of it.
Yep.
Generally getting deeper and deeper.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Oh, I just dawned on me. December 6th, the day of the religious infant. It's the Christmas day.
Just use the scraper, or just use the bowl gouge and scrape it.
Well, personally, I'd use the spindle gouge because you can see where you're going with it.
Yeah.
And it'll give a better finish. But tilt it right up so that the flute's nearly vertical and You know how to do a shear scrape.
Yeah.
Tilt the flute at 45,
Oh,
and you're
I
cutting
thought it
just
meant
below
over.
the centre. No, you're not trying to, Jay, you're not trying to remove a heap of material with it. It's a
Yeah, I know.
finishing cut.
They might end up being burnt rings. I get too frustrated with it.
You should be getting very, very fine little shavings that float in the air.
Yeah. Curly Sue's. Okay. Bye bye.
That easing them out a bit, is it?
Yeah, that flattened it right out.
Good.
Now I'm just going to try not to cock it up.
I have faith in you not to.
I'm glad you do.
Ah, come on, Jay. You've done harder stuff before. See, when I get stuff like that and I start getting frustrated, I just tell myself, all right, who's going to win, the wood or me? And it's always me. I've only had one piece that I gave up on for, it was about 2 weeks, and it was a piece of walnut that I made just a nice big vase out of. And I mean, it was just hard and dry, and it ended up flying off my lathe a couple times. And finally, I just said, okay, I'm done, and put it up on the shelf. Waited about a couple weeks and said, okay, here we go. As a matter of fact, I think if you go back in my YouTube channel, you'll see it. I think it's Vase from Hell.
Afternoon tea time. Anybody like a piece?
What is it?
It's what they call a granny slice down here at our local bakery. It's like a vanilla slice custard, but between two bits of pastry.
Oh, that looks yummy.
Very nice. It is. It is very nice.
Diabetic nightmare.
Sarge is in the
G'day,
chat.
Jamison. Yeah.
You know, that's one of the reasons why I would love to travel, is I would love to just be able to try all kinds of different food and stuff like that.
How you going, Jamison? He's in the chat, but I've just sent him a link, so he might come in. Maybe.
Yeah, he was earworming a little bit ago. Some of those Southern boys, they're funny. Oh my goodness. All right, John the Canadian, he's pretty funny too.
Yeah. Cade, I enjoy his sense of humor, but I don't know, I just don't have the connectivity to snakes as he does.
Yeah.
Living with him in the bush, the jungles, Southeast Asia. The one thing we did learn, the smaller the snake, the deadlier it was. The little pit vipers were like 6 inches long, 7 inches long, and they were green, and they matched they were like a bamboo snake, and you couldn't tell it from one. It's natural camouflage. As hot as it was, you still didn't dare go without a shirt, at least going through that type of stuff. But it didn't have fangs big enough to penetrate your fatigues. But if you didn't have a shirt on that got you, its nickname was a two-step Charlie. Because that's all you had were 2 steps and your lungs had stopped working. They'd try to work, but the throat would just swell up. So you couldn't breathe. And the only way you could disable a person that was bit by it, because it was strictly caused the throat to swell, was a tracheostomy. And they taught that too as part of the training when you got in country to know where to find it here, to put a hole and stick a straw or something in so you can at least breathe until they can get you with an anti-venom shot. It just made the esophagus swell up. I'm surprised I haven't seen Sid. I wonder if he's got a busy day working, or is he off today?
No, his missus has probably got him working around the farm. I don't think Sid works on Saturdays. Oh, he probably does sometimes.
In the next couple of days, one of my lives is just going to be a sanding fest. I've got a whole heap of bowls that I'm really not that happy with the finish on the bottom, so I'm going to put the Jacob's chuck in the headstock with the sanding pad thingamajigger. That's not very nice. Really couldn't be bothered doing any more tooling and making it smaller and smaller and smaller, trying to get the other tool marks and the other tool marks. So I'm just going to hit it with the idea.
.600 grit sandpaper.
Oh no, I've got 80. That'll give it some shape.
Yeah, and right quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to say 60. I was looking at 60. I was looking at something here that said 600, and I meant 60 grit. I had to go to 60 grit today to solve a problem.
Yep.
Boy, was I embarrassed. I'm glad nobody was around.
I don't care.
You are wearing a respirator, aren't you? That's better than nothing.
Yep.
Well, don't want you to ruin your lungs.
No, I've got asthma, so I don't need to be doing that. Oh. Put mark on it for I swear and
So Blair, where's she performing? Locally?
Yeah. Yeah, she's been with a ballet company for, I mean, since she was a little girl. And every year they do the Nutcracker, and she's just worked her way up. And this is the first year that she's been able to do the toy.
Uh-huh.
But she's worked really hard. That's what's impressive.
How far are you from Salt Lake City?
Maybe about 20 minutes.
Not bad.
Nah. She's actually performing up in a place called Ogden.
Yep.
Hey, there's Jameson.
Howdy.
Howdy.
how you going?
Good.
You got somebody behind you who's going to come up and give you a wet willy.
Yeah.
Hello.
How you going?
Going good.
That's good. I've just about had enough, to be honest.
Is it beating you up, Jay?
Yeah,
It's only
I'll
been
just.
37 minutes.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I don't mind standing there chatting or whatever, but I don't know if I'd be bothered turning anymore. It's just not in the mood for it at the moment, to be honest.
Happens sometimes.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That happens for every aspect.
Your
Yes.
lovely half biography. How's she doing?
I think she's inside on her phone. To be honest. What's everyone else been up to? What about you, Jamison?
Oh, I've been digging some more trees and stuff, cleaning my fence line out and filling up the hole from the big old stump and sanding up some Christmas ornaments for the kiddos to paint tomorrow.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. What'd you do with that box? Bring that box.
Did
Actually-
you cut 'em out?
Yeah, I cut them out.
So who's this
Hello,
little
young lady. How are you?
Wow.
That's mini me.
So you gonna paint that?
You gonna paint that? They can't hear you.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you'll have to have your dad show us.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll live video them doing it, but I'll definitely post them afterwards what they did. There's my ornament.
Oh, nice.
You cut that by heart, by memory.
Yeah.
Snowman.
Hey.
I remember when I was in tech school back in '67, Denver. We had some people in from Australia that were teaching, and some from that is nice. We had two in the class that were from Hawaii, and they'd never
Wow.
seen snow except at a distance. So we took them up in the mountains so they could see snow. We couldn't believe a person 19 years old had never seen snow or been hit with a snowball. But he was one of them. We drenched him in a snowball fight.
Well, unless you live near the coast down near Sydney or Melbourne, you very rarely see snow either in Australia.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
The funniest thing I ever came across was working in the outback once, and which is the desert country out centre of Australia, and it started raining. There was an 8-year-old boy there on the property that absolutely terrified. He had never seen rain, and he was frightened. He was actually frightened of it.
That sounds like the people that live in Arizona here.
Yeah. Or the drivers in California.
Yeah. I used to live in California, and it does rain.
Oh, it does.
There are flash floods on the coast
Yeah.
out on US 1.
Tell you what, the worst rainstorm I ever have been in was in Maryland. You know, you've heard the term raining buckets. Absolutely. Just tons of water, you know, droplets just.
It was raining cats and dogs then.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah.
Yeah, the worst part is I was actually on an airplane flying home. So we were taking off, you know, getting out of that stuff, but you know, sitting on the plane and watching all of that stuff come down was.
Imagine hearing hail on the outside of the aircraft.
Oh yeah. What's worse is when it's not hail, it's actually small arms fire.
No, yeah, I'm sure of that. Yeah, when you're talking about a lot of rain, and when I first got to Okinawa, they told us about the typhoons. You know, it's a tropical area and everything. That first typhoon I went through was a super typhoon. Winds over 200 miles an hour.
Yeah,
And you talk about the rain just beating down. Looked like a moat all the way around our barracks.
I was in the South China Sea when a typhoon hit.
Matter of fact, I was in typhoon lockdown when 9/11 hit. And as soon as our aircraft come back to Okinawa, they were on Guam or somewhere. I was on the plane, went to Guam for a month and a half.
All I know is that when I was in Thailand in Udon Air Base, they had this by the front gate. They had this calendar,
Right.
and they would put the weather up, whether it would be a storm cloud or sun. It was just cut out wood pieces that they stuck to the cow. They stuck to it. Stuck to it all right. They used a nail gun to put them in. But it was interesting because they had rain. I think it was 37 days without stopping.
Wow.
You just got the idea that the people would be wearing their ponchos going places, but that only covered you down to just above the knee, and you were splashing in the water, so you were wet from walking in it. So it was always odd. You'd go to a class or something, or to a commander's call. You'd take your poncho and take it off and shake it outside and fold it up so you could have something to sit on dry, so you didn't ruin the pews in the church, because that's where we used our commander call once a month. And then you just gave up. Yeah, everybody's wet anyway, so why even bother wearing anything to keep dry?
Right.
You just carried your wallet and stuff in a waterproof bag.
Now I got a question for you. When did we get out of Guam? When did we quit using the base out there in Guam? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
I watched a Christmas movie the other night on Hallmark. It was called Operation Christmas Drop, and they were showing C-130s and stuff like that on base on Guam, and they were the J models. I'm like, I don't think we were there when. I don't think we had J models before we closed the base. So it's just one of those that you watch a military movie and you end up picking it out, picking all the stuff that they didn't get right. Some of it they don't have a choice on, but I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. You can't pull an old plane out of storage just for a movie.
No.
It's like the movie Air America. About a third of it is accurate and spooky accurate.
Right.
And the rest is just cut down a bit. Some of it's blown up
Right.
in the sense that they exaggerated, but not a lot of it. Like the Coke factory, if you've seen the movie. It existed. Yeah. It wasn't run by us. It wasn't run by Air America, but the dictator in charge of Laos, he ran it. It was his little business.
So you okay up there, Blair?
Oh yeah, I was just talking to my son.
Oh, we seen your better half show up.
Yeah, he just turned 20.
Wow.
I know, makes me feel old.
Wait
Don't
until
feel
you have
too old.
grandkids.
Yeah. My 21-year-old is fixing to have a granddaughter this month.
Oh wow.
Or having a daughter. Sorry, I'm having the granddaughter. He's having the daughter.
When you're my age, it's worse. It's great grandpa.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I met grandpa twice. So
Yeah. I kind of am in a way because I took on the role of grandfather to his girlfriend's son. So I was grandfather to him or pawpaw, and then I'll be pawpaw to his daughter.
Yeah.
So how old is that little monkey?
This is Monkey Girl, and she's 8. And she goes through her spurts where she's quiet. She'll open up.
Does she understand how far away she's talking to people today?
You know where they're talking from? Let's see. He's from Michigan, so he's just north of us by
Our state's
or
easy.
just east of Iowa.
It's the thumb.
Yeah, it's the thumb.
And I live right here in the thumb.
Yeah. And Blair, where do you live at again? Utah, isn't it?
I'm in Utah.
Yeah. So he's all the way over in the other corner. And then those two up on the top that aren't talking, the one that's doing the turning, they're in Australia.
That's why we talk proper and you lot don't.
We're at the bottom of the world. They're at the bottom of the world.
Yep.
And they walk around on their heads.
Hey, what's an island close to Australia, Robo, that starts with a T?
Tasmania.
No, not that one.
Tonga?
No. It's like Tinder.
It's Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, that might be it.
Papua New Guinea to the north.
I don't know. They had an uprising while we were down there, and they were looking to send us over there to help out, and they never did.
Oh, no. No, you're talking about Timor.
Talking about what?
Timor.
Yeah.
Timor's just to the north of us as well. Yeah, they had an uprising there about 10, 12 years ago, I suppose. The army moved in and just set up government and all that sort of thing for them.
Right.
I don't think I've ever heard of that place.
Yeah, this was back in '99, I think it was. I was down there.
It's not that big.
No.
It would fit within the Salt Lake.
Yeah.
So did Jay go and hide?
He's probably getting himself a cup of coffee or something. There's actually there was two parts of Timor. There's an independent part and a part that's annexed by Indonesia, I think. I'm not sure, but yeah, a little bit of a civil war.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Dr. Bob?
Well, I was going to say his coffee cup looks like it's behind there anyway, on the table.
Yeah. Maybe he's going to find out what his wife's doing. Making sure she don't burn down the brush around her.
You're talking about a stump before there, Jamison, and my uncle's got, he had before he died, cousins run it now, but he had a big dairy farm up in the centre of the state, and
Did you freeze up or did your brain freeze up, Robo?
He's handling the chat.
And anyway, it dug all around this thing with the tractor and everything and cut through all the roots and this and that. Tried dragging it out with a big four-wheel drive tractor and it didn't move. So he was down playing cricket one Saturday afternoon, and his next door neighbour, who lived about 20 miles from him, said, "What are you going to do with that stump?" He said, "I'm thinking of putting dynamite under it, see if we can blow it out." Oh. So on Sunday, about 4 or 5 from the cricket club come up. Now, you know what cricket is, do you?
Yeah, I do.
A sport, played with a bat and a ball. Right, yep.
Right.
So anyhow, about 4 or 5 come up and they, like blokes do, hanging over the fence, puts a couple of sticks under it, didn't lift out. All it did was raise a cloud of dust. So next Saturday, down playing cricket, and the word's got around about this stump. What are you doing about that stump? I'm going to try half a dozen sticks this time. By this time, there's about 10 blokes, and they've all got their beers, and the wives are coming as well. It's just about a picnic atmosphere by now. So sets them off, just created more dust, and the stump still sat there. So the next club meeting, he says, "Well, I'm going to fix it this time." He said a whole case, 24 sticks was going in underneath it. By this time, it's a real party atmosphere. So there's cars lined up against the fence, and there's kids running around everywhere, and there's picnic tables out, and the barbecues are going. Look like a country race meet. So they load up this case of dynamite underneath it. Excuse me. And let her rip. Well, it had just about blanked out after sun. And out of the centre of it raised this big great stump about 8 foot in diameter and 5 foot high, up in the air. Well, you've never seen so many people scatter so far, so quick, because anything that's coming down from the air always looks like it's coming down straight on top of you.
Right.
So it just rose majestically into the air, probably about 100 feet, I suppose, gently rolled over and fell straight back in when the dust cleared.
Well, that's crazy. Want to sleep?
Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down in my shop and do some glue ups.
No, and then bugger off.
So now he shows up.
He shows up.
He had to put in his last 2 cents to you.
Bugger off.
I heard someone say that, so I ran across the backyard.
What was that, Jay?
I said I heard someone was leaving, so I thought I'd better come back quickly and say something silly or stupid or.
So you were watching your broadcast in the house?
No, I was in my garden.
Live from outside.
I got a nicely established herb garden, so I was over there, you know.
You know, maybe you need to put the camera outside and do one live from the garden.
No, I'm not taking my land. Bugger that.
All right, well, gentlemen, I'm
It sporadically rained.
gonna take off. So I will see you guys
All right.
later.
Blair.
Thanks for coming in. Bye. So what have you been making, Jamison?
I finished up those Christmas ornaments, and she was in here sanding them, or we were, while we were watching Charles Deering. And then earlier today, went and dug up or cleaned up the hole that the stump was on. Pulled out some more little saplings around my fence row. Been piddling around all day. Getting ready to go back to work.
Yep. Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got tomorrow I got a Christmas party online in the morning from one of the other wood turning clubs here in Michigan.
I was going to say the other one you shared was the 13th, wasn't it?
Yes.
All right.
I belong to 3 different clubs.
Yeah.
Now, before it couldn't drive between them. It didn't make any sense. But since they're online and they're major hub clubs in the area, so like our club, we just approved a couple of grand more for equipment. So we'll stay on live when we have a club meeting.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of hardware that I've had that's pretty good, but mine's, big green screens and mic stands and I got a couple of tripod with fluid heads, but they're made for bigger cameras. The professional stuff that I used to rent,
Right.
but might just as well have it. And other clubs are going to do the same thing because now we're bringing people in from all over to our meetings, like with you guys that invite you for our Christmas party. They're debating if there should be a membership or not, but majority seem to think that, let's all pay an extra buck for membership so we can allow the others in now, by invitation.
Right.
So that's what the big debate is now in membership dues. So I got this Saturday, next Sunday, and then our club. So
Yeah, the first woodworking club I ever got into was out in San Diego. I'd been looking at different woodworking groups out there, and one of them that I had found was a scroll saw group, but they did the scroll saws with the old pedal versions or the treadle, either one. And I thought that was pretty cool, so I went to go check them out at the fairgrounds. And at first, I couldn't find them. Ended up finding a Hegner dealer that I almost bought a Hegner scroll saw, and I had never touched a scroll saw before in my life. But I found them finally, and while I was in there, they had San Diego Fine Woodworking Club, which was more into all the other wood, I guess, practices or whatever you want to call it. And they would do a demonstration behind plexiglass of hand carving out little preschool chairs. I was like, man, that's pretty cool. So I got in with them for a while. So I left. And then I just tinkered around. I'm still really not in a club. I just do the Facebook stuff and YouTube now. Definitely in the last probably month or so, especially with me being on quarantine, I've checked out more of the videos and more of the lives and been on more panels and been able to check out different crafts. It's been very interesting. I've always loved wood.
yeah, I was very young kid. I had my great grandfather was a woodworker, professional, and trained in Ireland, and his father was before him, and again, a couple of generations. Uh, but that was all through them. They were masons, and back then, public schools weren't. King James at the time, everything had to be parochial
Right.
because he even wrote his own version of the Bible, the King James version.
Right.
Which caused a fracture between them and the Vatican, which is somehow getting better. But the interesting part about it is that they had their own schools because that's what the teaching said to teach. So he had his whole family back 4 or 5 generations did woodworking, and his specialty that he specialized in his last 4 years of the school was turning because they needed somebody in the local area that could do turning to do work in the lodge halls. So then they had the potato famine hit, and all of a sudden he and his brother decided to catch a boat stateside. So they ended up in Canada and then migrated to Michigan. So that's the training that I had is from them. At that time, it was their son, but he was an SOB too. My grandfather. It had to be perfect. And you learned by doing.
Right.
because you
Right.
learn by mistakes, and not all mistakes are measuring mistakes, and not all mistakes are measuring mistakes.
No.
And that I learned the hard way in sharpening,
Mm.
because he would start off with me sharpening chisels, just because he did a lot of carving.
Right.
And he often would be, as a kid, we'd go visit him at the lodge hall, and they'd say, "That's him way up there." It's like 2-story high room.
Right.
And when you're little at the time, it's higher yet. And he's on a wooden scaffold that they push around so he can work with the plaster, carving the plaster out in order to have the patterns and the faces and stuff in there. But he did that, and he could do wood.
Wow.
But when I kept hanging out in his shop when he was working on restoring an old theater, Vaudeville Theater, in the Detroit area that one of the Masonic members had bought, it was sharpening chisels, and he might have 5 or 6 1-inch. Then he'd have a half a dozen 3/4 and 1/8 and big selections.
Right.
And I had to learn to sharpen them, and it was 5 stones that he taught us to go through, grits. And I'd go through, and he'd go and he'd take it on his arm and doesn't cut, and he'd take it and bang it on his workbench to dull the edge and give it back to me.
Oh,
I'd work my tail off getting it back up again. Well, that's a little better. So this time, let's see. And he'd take it. Oh, sorry. Sharpen it again. And it took me about 2 weeks of perseverance putting up with him, because I wanted to learn how to use his big machinery, because he had a belt drive shop that his father had built
right.
that was water powered on a good sized stream here in Michigan with a waterfall. And it drove me up a wall, and I learned different words that, though they were in Gaelic, that I shouldn't use, because I got my mouth washed out with soap one night and I didn't even know what I said. My grandmother took me in by the shirt and bar of soap and a washcloth. Ugh. But what did I say? You are going to have to ask your grandfather on that. So my lesson that I learned, oddly enough, was not about anything that I said. The lesson I learned was even more ridiculous. It's because you always test it yourself, and I couldn't use the hair on my arm because I didn't have any. I kept trying to figure out, how can I tell?
Right.
And he says, just watch how they're used. And he would sit there and he was doing carving, light pieces. And I asked him, can I get a piece of your scrap wood so I can test it? Well, of course you can. Here, that's the bin. And I'm sitting there, and that's a nice sliver. Well, you're getting close, he would say. And I'd go back and I'd start from the beginning, the heavy whetstone.
Right.
And all the way through. And then pretty soon I got tired of that. I don't know, maybe a week or two of doing it just on weekends.
Right.
I'd stay the weekend. And as soon as I got this right, I was invited to spend 2 weeks at their house. I finally cheated. Boy, did I cheat. And I thought I was cheating, and I thought he wouldn't see me because he was out of the shop. Only to find out that he was staring in the window watching me. I skipped the first 5 grits of stone and went back on the finest one there was and stroked it to make sure it was just right. And then he came in, and I was just proud. And he said, well, you got it. What did you learn? Well, all the steps. What did you learn just now? And I thought, for sure, because I cheated and it's not right, and I got a belt beside the head. No, the lesson is you want to make it sharp. You don't have to start from the beginning. Find where it's the weakest point and take it from there. All just in sharpening. And I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I was following each step, but I had already learned the previous ones, and I was repeating something I had learned, and I should have learned at what level of sharpness each one was, so I could go back and touch it up instead of starting over again, eating up steel. And that was a big thing for me. I grew a foot
Right.
because now I had a real a stool that when I came back and for the spend the week at the house, he had made a wooden stool I could sit on and be at the right level to work on his bench with him. But
Nice.
he turned and he did legs for chairs and stuff, and I got learning turning from him. But he had to make his own tools
Right.
because that was in 50, 56. Yeah, 56 is 55, 56 is when I was just that summer that I had made it.
Hmm.
10 years old and a foot taller. Because I could go in his shop beyond the chalk line on the floor, and I had a stool at the bench.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. My
later,
neighbor.
I asked, before he passed away, and my grandfather, who took over the shop,
Mhm.
why was it that way? And he said, that's the way it was when he was a kid. That's the way when his father was a kid. It's always been that way. You have to want to learn it and have perseverance. Then people will invest in you.
Right. When I was a kid, my neighbor used to refinish antique furniture, steamer trunks and school desks and all that stuff. And my mom, she was a nurse, so I couldn't touch any of the big power tools. But he taught me how to strip the wood, and then he also taught me the hand sander to sand it down and get it all smooth. Check for make sure I was going the right, going with the grain. Because if I went across it, then I'd gouge it all up, especially if I was on a rough 40 grit or 50 grit sandpaper and stuff like that. And but by the time I left that house, and I was probably 10 or 11, I was doing everything but running the table. So I'd even stain them, varnish them, whichever we were doing. Uh, the steamer trunks, when they come in, most of them would still have the cloth on them. So I'd have to take the utility knife and cut them all out and then pull all the strings out from underneath of the bands, all the wood and everything. But he used to take the Singer sewing machine tables, the pedal type,
Yeah.
and most of the time the sewing machines, they didn't work, so he just scrapped them. But he would take them apart, and we would strip down all the wood. Then he would take and make a new top for them, and he would take the drawers and put them side by side inside of the rails, and then just leave the pedal for decoration, and make a little storage cabinet for sewers.
Oh.
That was pretty cool. But then after that, I got into like 6th grade shop, and then eighth and 9th grade I was in wood shop. Both of those classes, 8th and 9th grade, it was in the same high school / middle school, and we had to learn to do it in an assembly line. He would test us out the first week on after all the safety classes and everything, and figure out which machines we were allowed to get on. And the 8th grade, I got on drill press, and I drilled all the holes, and the other guys used all the other machines. And we got all our pieces. We locked them up in a cabinet. I wrote my name on them. Come back the next day, and I was making a lamp, a pump handle lamp. And I come back the next day, and all I had was the base. All the rest of the pieces were gone. And then I had like 3 weeks left in the quarter. So my instructor, my teacher, he said, I know you know how to use these tools. You go ahead and make it, but I won't be able to give you as high of a grade. I ended up with a B+ on it still, just because of the fact that I didn't go through the assembly line. Then the next year was the same thing. Made a manual clock and it was the same thing. Somebody knew I knew how to use all the tools, so they took all my parts.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Bob, I think I'm going to call tonight. This one here is about to
Yeah,
fall asleep
yeah.
on my arm.
I should too.
And if Jay's still listening, we'll see you the next go around, Jay.
That's funny. You just come from inside. I was having coffee.
That's what we thought you did the first time. But we saw
Nah,
your coffee cup behind the lathe.
Nah, it wasn't made. I had to ask Amber to make another one.
Well, we'll catch you tomorrow.
Thanks for coming in. Sorry about that. Just not in the mood
No
anymore. Just couldn't be bothered with it.
And like you said, this is kind of the new norm. This is the new way of meeting up in everybody's shop and hanging out.
Yep.
And to be halfway around the world and still be in somebody's shop, that's cool.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe tonight I'll try it. Invite everybody in.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Yeah, yeah, I like that. Yeah. You too, Johnson.
What's that?
You need to do a live while you're on it doing the cutting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's what I'm working up to.
No, just invite us into it so we can
Yeah.
talk while you're doing it.
Right?
Yeah, we can come in and annoy you.
Yeah.
Why not? It's talk around the shop.
Right. It is. It is. So, but I will try to plan it to where I give out notices and give you all the best chance possible to get in.
All right.
But I don't know. I don't have StreamYard. I don't think. I mean,
It's free.
It's free. Okay, I'll look into that too.
Yeah, you can have you can stream 20 hours a month for free.
All right.
Then you can have 6 people come in.
All right.
And there's a ton of classes on how to use it, all on YouTube. You can
Right.
even figure out, and they'll teach you how to do all the special graphics, simple graphics, opening, closing, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
I've been looking at it because some of the people that I know want something smaller to use than Zoom. And I've taught a bunch of Zoom stuff, so I'm doing the phoning up on StreamYard, and I was going to do some graphics for Jay if he sends me his graphic.
I already did it. I did. I sent it to you in Messenger, and I sent you a little message along with it, and I said, don't add the YouTube and Instagram logos.
Okay, I'll look again because I got to have it as a standalone graphic, so that's fine.
Yeah.
That way I'll put it in.
It's all right.
Cool.
We're out of here. We'll see y'all next go round.
Yeah, I'm
Thank you.
back at night.
Yep.
Yep.
Good night, Dr. Bob.
Take it easy. All right. So, see you later, Jappy. Thanks for coming in.